Hey everybody, welcome into the first episode of Coach's Cutup. I'm Joey Browning, and tonight I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Chad Bennett. He's the head football coach at White County High School, where he's been since 2022. He's also been offensive coordinator at places like Gainesville and Raven County. Has also been a state runner-up as assistant coach at Flowery Branch. Chad, thank you for being with me, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Enjoy it. Glad to
How's
be
uh,
here.
how's the winter wonderland in Northeast Georgia here lately?
It's been crazy, ice storm last week, snowstorm this week. Um, White County, we got hammered by the ice storm. Like 80% of the county lost power, and some of the kids were out for 4 days. It's just crazy. We were out 3 days last week. Got a delayed start on Thursday and Friday, and then the snowstorm came in Saturday, and we missed Monday and Tuesday, and so we finally got back after it today. So I think we were talking a little bit off air, and then last week of February is going to be the first week we go to school 5 days, because next week we got winter break coming for next Friday, and then the following Monday and Tuesday we'll be out. So just really hard to get in the routine.
Oh, I'm sure that's I've been kind of following the weather over there too, and like just Northwest Georgia's. I don't know, it's just different. Like we got forecasted all that ice, and then didn't really get any. And then last weekend we didn't really get forecasted any snow. We ended up getting like an inch here where I live, and then it was gone like as soon as it stopped. Like I couldn't believe it. It was like 19 degrees here, and the snow was just melting like it was 50 degrees outside or something. So
Yeah, we got
um,
about I'd say a good 5 inches for sure here.
wow, that's I don't know. I guess that's just par for the course over there this time of year, though. It's just
Yeah,
there
yeah,
hadn't
no
been
doubt.
that much snow the last few years. It wouldn't seem like big ones, but you always good for probably a one at least. So,
Yeah.
so we're gonna kind of bounce around some topics here. This is like I said, this is the inaugural episode of this, and just want to have coaches on and really, kind of go anywhere where the discussion flows. I guess. First of all, I wanted to start off talking about something I know me and you. It's uh it's a common interest we have. The job season this year in high school football in Georgia. Well, if you had to rate it on a scale 1 to 10, how's the job season watching been?
It's always very entertaining. I mean, I would say 7, 8. I mean, there's been some interesting moves. Things that you in the job season, you just never know what's going to happen and what's going to pop and who's going to move and leave. And so I know you and I, we like to watch it and check it out, but I'd say 7 or 8. It's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's been it's funny there, like before I don't know, before Christmas, obviously it's like every year now for the past 3 or 4 years, all the guys that cover it, like Georgia Football Scoop and Man of Constant Sorrow and whoever always talk about like, record number of openings before Christmas or whatever. And then this year it was kind of like that. And then it seemed like after Christmas, everything just kind of obviously blew up with, obviously jobs like Rome and Gainesville and Grayson and Rockmart and all those coming open after Christmas. So it's been an entertaining one, especially for the I guess the bigger jobs like that this time that sometimes they're rumored that they're going to happen, and then when they happen, like, it's kind of it's one of those things you can't take your eyes off of. So
Yeah, I think the thing that was interesting to me is like some of the big time programs, how fast they were able to move and hire people. Sometimes it's 2, 3 weeks, sometimes a month, and like Gainesville, I mean, it's basically less than a week. Bowden comes open and they have a predecessor. I mean, just some of um, those big time jobs come open, and I mean they had their guy within a week, which was interesting for me this year.
yeah, yeah, I did notice that too, and that's kind of something. I don't know. I don't know if that's more of the uh, if those places just are more efficient and stuff like that, or if that's part of the trickle down from like college like stuff that people are always talking about high school ball, where it's you know the there's similarities between college football and high school football, and that would be one where, obviously they don't have to wait in college. They don't have to wait, a certain period of time to post a job or something like that. And I guess in certain high school spots, they move a little bit faster, I guess, than others. So
Yeah, and I think with those big time jobs and programs, I think people, the higher ups, understand how important it is to get their guy in place because the off season is so important. And I mean, it's just different when there's no head coach in place. But when the
right,
head coach is in place, he can keep everything going. And and I think people see that it's really important. Like football in the off season is just as important as the end season to train and get bigger, faster, stronger, and build the culture and the camaraderie and all the things that you do in the off season. And if you go 2 months without a guy, I mean, hopefully you got good assistants on staff that'll keep everything going. But it's just different when there's not a head man in
yeah.
place. And I think some schools realize that, hey man, we got to get our guy in place so nothing skips a beat and the train keeps rolling.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that makes like I said, the job season a little bit more interesting this time than even past years and stuff like that. But it's also kind of clinic season. Any clinics on your schedule this time, or any good? And there's a lot of good online resources now. Anything good out there that you've seen or piqued your interest?
Yeah, this is year 21 for me, just finished, and I love clinic season. I love still trying to find that nugget. Being a head coach now, it's more for me, how can we do things better? How can we practice better? How can we train better? How can we utilize our time better? I love what we do schematically, and you always want to, find that one or two nuggets, like last year, listening to Bobo talk about escort and, you're still throwing your quick game and all, but now you're getting a sniffer out, to lead block for your running back, stuff like that was really cool. Already this year. I love learning from Josh Herron. Josh Herron is the offensive coordinator at Lassiter, and I've followed Josh for many years. He's been at Lassiter, Jones County, and the dude is elite. And he spoke at Smoky Mountain Clinic up in Tennessee, and he shared some of his stuff that he talked about, and kind of this off season, the thing that's kind of interesting to me and piquing my attention and really trying to study and learn is some incorporating some of the option route stuff that he does, man. Like a couple of years ago, when you and I worked together, we were doing some of the seam read, and now, I mean, he's just got some slot option stuff. He's motioning the stack and running some seam reads with some option routes with it, and so that's kind of where I've started. We always buy the Glacier Pass. I know some of us will go to the Glacier. Like I said, I like going to places and watch practice. So we'll probably go to Georgia again and try to pick up some things on how they practice. I like going to Clemson's clinic. They're usually pretty good. Defensively, I got a new defensive coordinator last year, and he's kind of part of a system. So we're going to do some clinicing with Carrollton's defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator at Barry kind of runs a similar defense to what we do. So defensively, that's kind of the two places we want to go this off season in clinic. So yeah, it's full speed right now, man. Trying to like I said, find that one or two nuggets on how we can get better, and whether it's practice, whether it's lifting, whether it's offensive or defensive scheme, for sure.
Yeah. Um, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's to me, I'm with you. I'm always instead of I'm trying to find those nuggets of instead of just a big thing like those few little wrinkles that might fill in some gaps somewhere, or be a solution for a problem that's popped its head up a couple times over the last few years. And I'm definitely, you know, as you know, I'm a fan of the Josh Heron stuff too. I mean, that's really good stuff, and I've not seen any of his newer stuff in the last year or so, but that's something that definitely be on my list too. Of is we still run the same read stuff, and we run choice, and the option route stuff is something I've seen other people do, and that's something that's interesting to me. And like you mentioned, going and watching people practice, like I'm a big fan of that too. And I would love to try to get to a couple different places this spring, and whether it be Georgia or um, Jacksonville State's not too far from here, nearby. I went and watched them practice last spring, and they're they're doing some really interesting stuff on offense too. So, that those are they're kind of on my list. But yeah, clinic season's always fun, and networking and things like that are obviously part of that. So, um, so you've been the head coach at White County. This is 2022, right? Was your first year?
Yes, sir.
So what for first off, what's White County like for people that might not be familiar with it? I know I'm pretty familiar with it. Asking that
Yeah.
question like I don't know, but I'm asking you, so maybe the people out there that don't know.
Yeah, so White County's, in the northeast Georgia mountains. We're more of a rural community. One horse town, one high school, one middle school. We got three elementary schools. It's a great place with great kids. I think we have great community support. I think I love our kids, and I love how they come to work every day and try to get better. And it's just really a blessing to be the football coach at White County. When I got the job, White County hasn't won a region championship. They've never won more than 9 games. They've never been past the second round. And those are all things that motivate me, I wake up every day trying to go to work and trying to do those things. The first 4 years, have we accomplished that? No, but I'm proud of the kids. I'm proud of uh, you know kids don't want to do hard stuff anymore, and the kids who play football I'm really proud of, and the adversity that we faced, and but just the game of football teaches life, and I think the kids there that play football are learning how to be men and how to handle hard things and do hard things, and I want to win every game, but I know that when they leave our football program, that I think we've given them great things that they can go and be successful and be good husbands and good daddies and good citizens. And somebody asked me, like, it's always funny. I heard this, at the beginning of this year, like, how we're going to be this year. And somebody said, well, ask me in 20 or 30 years. And, because then they're going to be grown men with families. And if they turn out to be good men and good husbands and good daddies, and we did a good job, minus the wins and loss categories.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. That's something that I haven't heard that, but that's a really good response to that question that, you get, like you say, this time of year or any time of year really before football season gets going. And, like I said, my experience with White County as a place, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I think it's a great place with some hard nosed kids, and they're going to work hard and do what they're going to do what you ask them to do. And,
To the very
um,
best of their
yeah,
ability. Yeah,
and it's,
absolutely.
it's the type of place that, you envision, living and working in and that type of community. So,
Yeah, I
um,
mean, you can't beat the 8 to 3. I mean, not just counting the football kids, but I mean, like all schools, there's knuckleheads and all, but overall, I mean, it's really good place to teach and work, and the support's good, and so yeah, it's been a blessing. I was there 4 years as the OC, and now 4 years as a head coach. So I've been there 8 years, and just it's been great for me and Emily, my wife.
yeah. And I know y'all have done some, facility upgrades and stuff like that since you've been there, right?
Yeah, when I got the job, when I came back in 22 to be the head coach, we were redoing the field. We got the field turf, and we were able to put in a big jumbotron. Um, and then this is the second school year. We got a brand new weight room, got 20 stations, just built an awesome facility to train our kids. We got, when we were told we got to build it, we were told, like, ask for everything. And, we came up with a list, and they said yes to everything. So we spent over $500,000 on a new weight room, and our kids have an unbelievable facility to get bigger and stronger and faster in. Hopefully the splost will pass in May, and there's one more phase. I think we're going to get either some renovations to the field house or a new field house, and there's some talks about some type of field house. I don't know if it'll be a 10 by 10 spot or, a 120-yard indoor facility. I'm not really sure, but I'll take whatever we get. I mean, that would be awesome. They're fixing to start on some renovations in the stadium. Press box is going to get some work. The concession stands, the bathrooms, we're going to get new lighting, paint the stadium. So lots of good things have happened since 2022.
Yeah, that's some good stuff there. So let's talk a little bit about your coaching background. So, how did you get into coaching?
Yeah, so I always loved football growing up. Played from the youngest age you could play, and played through high school. I played at Gainesville High School, which back in the '90s and 80s, '90s, the tradition was pretty cool, and just loved playing there. Um, but I was a 5'11", 190-pound offensive lineman, and they don't recruit those even in the '90s, and so. I went to college, got a degree in finance, and I graduated. And my wife's like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "Don't want to do anything in finance." And she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to coach football. Like I love football." And so I went back and got my master's degree and got into education, and really, really fortunate and blessed to end up starting my career at Flowery Branch. I started teaching in 2004. Started coaching in '05 once I got to know Coach Shaw and his staff. And so 2005, 6, 7, I was at Davis Middle School, the feeder program, and was head coach there a couple of years, and then helped with the varsity. And then in 2008, I moved up to the high school, coached receivers my first year, offensive line my second year, and then my last 2 years there, I coached D-line. Coach Shaw then got the job at his alma mater, and I got invited to go, and I was the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator at Raven County for 4 years, and it was really cool to go there. We'd been at Flowery Branch and really got the thing going in '05, and played for a state championship in '08, made it to the semis in '09. I really had the chance to win 2 state championships, came up a little short. Then we go to Raven, and they had been 3-7, 1-9, 1-9, 1-9 before we got there. And we won six games the first year, 8 games the second year I was there. Year 3, we won 9 games, won the first region championship, and then my last year there, we went 11-2, and that I kind of was on the beginning of the run at Raven County, and then went back to Flowery Branch for a year with Chris Griffin, and then he decided to kind of step away from being a head coach, and I got the call from Tim Coakley, who had just got the job at White County, and went to White County for 4 years, 17, 18, 19, 20, was offensive coordinator. And then after that year, Coach Webb at Gainesville called and was looking to hire an offensive coordinator, and I thought it'd be an awesome opportunity to go back to where I went to school at Gainesville. And so in 21, I was the offensive coordinator at Gainesville. And then 22, the head job came open at White, and I was fortunate enough to get the job and been the head football coach there since 2022.
Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously I mean, kind of had I guess, a unique path to get into coaching since, like you said, you wanted to be in finance to begin with, and then kinda decided later you wanted to teach and coach. Um, what so you started coaching at Flower Branch in '05?
Yeah. First year I taught was '04, but I started coaching in '05.
What
Yeah,
in what year did Flower Branch open?
'02.
'02, so you're kinda
So
in on the ground floor almost for
yeah,
that get going,
yeah,
huh?
it was really neat. So '02, the first year they went 0-10, and then year two they went 4-6, had some success, and then the third year they ended up going 2-8. And so not much was expected. And then '05, it kind of when it all started. We went 11-2 that year. We went all the way to the quarterfinals. Played Peach County. No, we played Doherty County in the third round. They ended up going on and played for the state championship. Came up a little short, but that's kind of when it started. And from then on out, I mean, it was just it was awesome. Awesome ride at Flowery Branch and super competitive every year. We had some really, really, really talented football players. And like I said, in '08, we go and play for the state championship against Cairo. 14-14 with 6 minutes left, and we came up short. They scored two times to beat us 28-14. And then the next year, uh, we played Gainesville week 10, which was the huge rival at Flowery Branch, and they beat us pretty good. They were super talented. They had the Blake Sims and
Mhm.
the T.J. Jones and the A.J. Johnson. I mean, they were really good, and they got us pretty good, and we ended up making it to the semis. And so it's a rematch, and just the atmosphere was unbelievable. And we jump up on them 21-0 at halftime, and we have to kick off to start the second half. And our kicker was really good, went to Duke, and he kicked it 99.9 yards, and Blake Sims caught it and took it 99.9 yards to the house, and they ended up blocking the kick. And long story short, they came back and beat us 29-21, and then they fell a little bit short to Peach County the following week in the state championship game. But those were two cool years. I think over my time, I've been able to coach in 5 quarterfinal games. So that was always cool practicing on Thanksgiving. So just really fortunate to experience some really, really cool things in my coaching career.
What was, which I mean, I kind of have a knowledge of, like, Hall County and Gainesville and Flowery Branch from time spent near there now and, like, the football, but, I guess, like, what was that you talked a little bit about the semifinal game. What was that kinda that game 10 like? Because were y'all playing for, like, the region championship, or was that what it was?
I don't. I think we had lost a couple, and so
Yeah,
I don't think it was region championship, but it was Gainesville Fire Ranch. I mean,
yeah.
it's standing room only. I mean, people are lined up on the track to watch the game. Just really cool. I mean, the one thing that I always really loved about Flowery Branch was the student section. I mean, it took up a whole section in the bleachers. Just really, really cool Friday night experience. We came out to Thunderstruck. We played the air raid siren,
Mhm.
and when that went down, I mean that play. It was a rocking place on Friday nights, man. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
I mean, they had obviously, Gainesville had Blake Sims, AJ Johnson. Who did y'all have, like, a couple big names on that Flowery
Yeah,
Branch team?
that year we had Connor Shaw as our quarterback who went to South Carolina. I mean, we had Daniel Drummond who went to play at Georgia Tech. We had Ijon Cross who went to Georgia Tech as well. I mean, we had some good football players. Probably not as many as Gainesville did, but it was pretty cool. I mean, Gainesville had a noseman, Thomas Niles, who went to Central Florida, and it took at least three people to block him. I mean, he was that talented. And then you had A.J. Johnson behind him, and Thomas. I mean, there was another really good linebacker that they had. And so when it took three people to block the nose, I mean, A.J. Johnson and the other linebackers just could run and make plays, man. I remember in the semifinal games, I mean, like at least two, maybe three times in the fourth quarter, we needed a yard, and we put it in our best player's hand. I mean, we were running basically double option with Connor, and AJ made the tackle all three times for no gain, and that was, I mean, he was just special,
Yeah.
talented. He was pretty good, man.
Um, in that '08 year when y'all played for the championship, that was that in the dome?
Yes, it was in the
Okay.
dome. Yeah.
What was that like coaching in
It
that
was it
atmosphere?
was it was it was really cool. Back then I was a box guy, so but it was nothing like you're standing at the roll up doors. They roll up the doors, and you basically got 30 minutes to get warmed up
Yeah.
before you play. And so basically, we had like a 17, 18-minute warm up. But to go up, the doors roll up and you step out, and you're playing in the Georgia Dome, which was awesome. And so I was, got to be on the field for about 17, 18 minutes, and then to be able to go into the box like where all the professionals coach was pretty awesome. Uh, Something I'll never forget for sure.
Um, so I mean, Flowery Branch back then, were y'all 3A or 4A?
I think 3A, and maybe at the end we were 4A as it kind of started to grow.
And that was more the years where there were probably only like 5 classifications or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, it was on the y'all's enrollment was, I mean, on the a little bit of the bigger end than I guess
Yeah, yeah,
than like a
yeah,
Raven or a White County or
oh yeah. Uh, it was probably at the time I was there 12, 13, 1,400 kids,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember for sure. It's been a while, but yeah, it was a good place.
And I mean, you've been in Gainesville too. So I mean, I guess what I was trying to get at, like small school versus big school, like you've kind of been, I guess, at both.
Yeah.
What differences do you see like coaching football at a place maybe like a Gainesville or Flowery Branch versus a Raven or a White County?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just your numbers. Like when we were at Flowery Branch, we had the ability to be more two platoon. And then you go to places like Raven and White, and you have to play more guys both ways. The depth isn't as deep in places with bigger schools, but Raven and White, we've had some really good football players, like really talented that I thought were just as good as some of the players at Flowery Branch and Gainesville. But the biggest thing is just the numbers and the depth for me um, as a bigger school and a smaller school when you're comparing the two.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I think the biggest learning thing was going to Raven was, uh, you know, that fine line of not practicing too much, but you know, everybody, especially the skill guys, had to learn both sides of the ball, both play both
mhm,
sides of the ball, and learning how to practice where everybody had to practice both sides of the ball because at Fire Branch it was we would have our crossover periods when we would have guys who played both sides, but the majority of the guys practiced only offense and only defense. So, we would practice our offensive guys on Monday and a Tuesday, like 2 hours, and we would
right.
have those guys. And it wasn't like, all right, we've practiced 45 minutes. Now y'all go practice the other side of the football.
And obviously, I mean, I mean, that would free you up on either side of the ball to, I mean, you would be able to feasibly do more, like
Yeah,
offensively, for example, if you wanted to, because
absolutely.
you get 2 hours versus an hour.
Yeah, no doubt. You get way more reps for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, the good on good competition is you can do a little bit more of that. Um, there's not so much difference in scout teams. The scout team you're going against at Gainesville and Flowery Branch are they're pretty. You may have a scout team that has a lot of sophomores and juniors on it, whereas at a smaller school like Raven and White, your scout team might be a couple of sophomores and a bunch of freshmen, and so you
Yeah.
can get sometimes a better, more physical look in practice at a bigger school like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know the biggest places I've been have only been 3A, but, like, the now being in the low single A, it's, you know, those like you say, those numbers in terms of, like, your scout teams and how many kids are gonna every kid's gonna have to learn both sides of the ball basically, and then,
No doubt.
that's the only way you're ever gonna have not just depth, but just enough front line 22 guys to play offense and defense, and it definitely makes you, I think, more, you have to have more utility in your coaching in terms of, how to plug and fit people where they need to go and who needs to learn what and who needs to cross train at what. And,
Yeah,
uh, I think a small school setting is definitely, uh, you know, it makes you as a coach, I feel like have to do more of that stuff.
no doubt.
Um, so, uh, who would you say, whether before getting into coaching or, growing up, say, like you said, you really love football and wanted to be a part of it and wanted to coach. So whether it be while you've been coaching or before you've coached, or who would you say have been some of your more big coaching influences?
Yeah, man, I think the defensive coordinator that was at Gainesville when I played, his name was Harold Roach. Uh, I mean, I loved him, man. I loved everything about him. I loved his energy, his passion, how he coached the game. It just made it fun. I couldn't wait to. I was more of an offensive player. I mean, I played a little bit of D line, but I loved going to practice and watching him work. And I was like, you know what, like. This guy loves what he does, and so he helped me, really fall in love with the game. And Frank Benden, who was a coach that I had in high school, I loved his energy and passion, and so those two guys were really probably influential and made an impact on me in school. And then, like we talked about earlier, I mean, I was just I just very fortunate to go to a place and start my career that had a really good, not only a head coach, but just a really good staff. Coach Shaw, I was with him for 12 years and watched him build Flowery Branch and then helped him at Raven and just got to see how he does things. And so he was very influential. Sean Conley, offensively, he was the offensive coordinator there pretty much at Flowery Branch my entire career. Learned a lot of football from him. He, uh, spent a lot of time teaching me and just pouring into me. Benji Harrison, we worked together for 3 years, the head coach at Hab. Learned a lot from him. Ed Stokes, who's the wide receiver coach at Mill Creek, was just a really, really good football player. I mean, football coach. Learned a lot from him. I'm an offensive line guy. I love offensive line. Flowery Branch, we had really good offensive line coaches. Ben Hall, got to learn from Ben Hall. I got to learn from Tom Hall. Um, just a lot of good football coaches at Flowery Branch. Then when I was on the defensive side of the ball for 2 years, Chris Griffin was our defensive coordinator. He was at Flowery Branch for 15 years and learned a lot of good defense from him. So those guys were kind of influential in my early years to really pour into me and really help me become the coach I am today.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've heard you talk about your especially your time at Flowery Branch and all those guys that were on that staff. Um, so like, how important do you think? I mean, I know it's up to every coach to have their own individual kind of path, but like, then that lineage of people you coach under or with and learn stuff from, and then like, how important is that when you move on from those coaches, whether you move to a new staff or they move on to another job? Like, how much does that how much does that stick with you, like in your own personal experience? For the further you get away from being, coaching, having coached with those people, how much does that stick with you?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think it was kind of the foundation. So a lot of the things that, I believe in and what I do with my own football program are things that we did at Flowery Branch because I saw them work. I mean, obviously, the game of football is ever changing. It never stays the same. It is always evolving. And so you have to evolve. But, the core foundation of commitment, hard work, toughness, the discipline, the accountability, the pride, those things uh, were things that I learned, and I think are critical to a good football program. And so, you always take the things that you believe in and what you learned, and then you try to take those and then add on to what you have as a foundation as you build your house. So absolutely, I think it's important. I mean, we 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 did a lot of good stuff at Flowery Branch and at Raven that I think is worth having in your program.
Yeah. Um, would you say those guys too, like in terms of like coaches you've worked with, maybe not so much being influenced, but just saying like some of the better coaches you've worked with, all those guys pretty much qualify.
So ask it one more time.
So like all like in terms of like the best, if you, so I was asking about like coaching influences, people who've
Yeah.
influenced you obviously as a coach, but like in terms of like whether it be a head coach, assistants, whoever, like who are obviously those guys qualify, but like who are some of the maybe more underrated coaches or better coaches you've worked with that might not be uh the Lee Shaws or the more notable people, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I think every staff that I've worked on had some good ones. Uh, kind of starting when I at Raven when I was the offensive coordinator. I did the offensive line, but Andy Mahaffey was with me for a long time. Coach receiver, I mean running backs did a great job. Justin Pierce and then Jabo Shaw coaching quarterbacks. Rob Stockton, Gunnar Stockton's dad was our defensive coordinator. I learned from Tim Bragg, who was one of the best strength coaches at Raven. I was around C.J. Stockel to really learn, weight room stuff like that. And then at White, I mean, you were really good. I learned a lot from you. I mean, you and
Oh
you and
yeah.
I. I mean, well, we spent a lot of time, especially during the COVID year. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we would clinic and watch videos and share thoughts. And I think you're an outstanding coach. Wyatt Burgess. I thought we us three made a really good, team when we were together. Nathan
I have
Riddle's
to
been
give a
my
shout out to Wyatt for talking about the coaching season, the following of that. Can't
yeah,
can't go
yeah.
without giving Wyatt a shout out.
Nathan Riddle's kind of been our offensive line coach since 2018. Logan Head, who was our defensive coordinator at White County, has done a really good job. My new defensive coordinator, Zach Grace, who came from Houston County, is a really good football coach. So I mean, just been very fortunate. Not, I mean, for some people not to know those names. Those are really good football coaches that I've been blessed to work with and share a sideline with.
Um, what kind of and I'm gonna kind of move into talking about like X's and O's and scheme and stuff. Like, kind of continuing that talk from Flowery Branch, and like I know personally from having talked to you about it, like y'all transitioned from like the option to the spread and the Tony Franklin stuff. How influential do you think learning that stuff there has been for you? Now obviously moving on from Flowery Branch to Raven and White.
Yeah, I think it was a game changer. Coach Shaw, Coach Conley, been triple option for a long time. Um, and then uh, 2005 5 when we kind of turned the corner and went 11-2 and made it to the quarters. We were still a double option team, and uh, so we go down and play Doherty in the quarterfinals, and I mean they
I love the
had
Doherty story too. I've heard you tell it
yeah,
multiple
I mean
times.
that was an impressive football team. I mean, they're 100 strong, and we come out to warm up, and they sound like an army down there warming up, chanting and all. And our guys kind of big eyed, and they were really good. And so we go into halftime, and their fans are yelling over the bleachers as because our locker room was under the bleachers. Y'all better go find the real Michael Vick. I mean, and they were just they were able to play cover zero. Bring what I called blood stunt, where they're bringing two off the edge and making the pull pitch, and then the safety standing on the line of scrimmage and making a play. And so after that game we were coming back and like you know how can we elevate what we do? Like, we need a passing game. And so uh, we went out in 2000 spring of 2006 and learned the Tony Franklin system. We flew up to Chicago, and we stayed there for a weekend. His clinics he teaches you everything, like the plays, how to practice it, walk through. So we basically learn it in 3 days, and we come back, and spring practice is starting that Monday. And so we learn this system and come back and immediately put it in. And it was really cool. We kind of transitioned. We then went to University of Charleston in West Virginia, where Tony DeMeo was. He's a big gun triple option guy, and so we married our gun option and what Tony DeMeo did with the Tony Franklin system, and kind of came up with our offense at Fire Branch. So not only are you going to have to defend the Tony Franklin spread, air raid type concepts, now you also, in the run game, you're going to have to defend the triple option, and you're going to have to still account for the quarterback, the running back, and the pitch man. And they kind of evolved from there, and it was pretty cool to go from that double slot triple option to being a shotgun team where we're going to throw it and still run the triple option.
And so you guys, so nobody on staff had any knowledge of the Tony Franklin stuff, and then y'all went and
No.
learned it and then put it in the next week. That's
Yep.
kind of crazy.
Yep. I mean, the cool thing with if you've ever been to a Tony Franklin clinic is, especially back in the beginning of his clinics, like, he would teach a concept, he would show you the clips, he would show you the cut-ups, he would show you the drawing, and then you would go into a ballroom and you would actually do it. Like, you were the players. And so if we're learning how to vertical set, I'm playing left guard, and I'm having to make calls, and so you got hands on. And he had position coaches there, and so he would take the receiver coaches and teach you how to do cone drills and 90 degrees and 45-degree cuts and ball security and ball drills. I mean he gave you the blueprint, and then you just went back and were able to install it. But it was pretty cool, man, like, to go and learn a system and then turn around within like 24, 48 hours and you're teaching it to your guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely something about my experience of the Franklin stuff. Is just to call it a clinic's almost like offensive, because it's really an experience of
Yeah.
just being kind of placed in it, and just like it's what we were talking about earlier about clinics, like going and picking up a nugget here. You could do that, but like you could go to the Franklin clinics and you could pick up an entire offense and, like you say, learn how to completely install it and teach it and practice it every day, and you would know everything you need to know in a weekend. So
Yeah.
um that's kind of crazy. How much of that stuff would you say you still regularly do now offensively?
Yeah, I would say passing game, it has evolved a little bit. But the core of the Tony Franklin passing game is what we still do. You know, we're going to run kind of some kind of shallow dig. We're going to run, you know, some kind of four verts. We're going to run wide cross. We're going to run some form of mesh. You know, we're going to run the quick game stuff, and then um, more we've more evolved run game to, you know, more zone principles, gap game stuff, but still love to incorporate the option aspects. Like you still better account for the dive, you still better account for the quarterback, and then, you know, the new age. I mean, are we throwing the screen out there? Are we throwing, or, you know, are we going to bring some kind of motion and run true
Mhm.
triple? But I mean, we still have option game in our run game. You know, I've been very blessed and fortunate until this year. So for 20 years, I've had a dual threat quarterback who could run the football and not only run it but throw it. And so, you know, when you have that extra guy, that plus one, it puts a lots of stress on the defense. But you know, having that ability is always been good. You know, I would say to the core, you know, what we've been most of my career, 10 personnel, Tony Franklin air raid, and then, you know, some form of triple option in the run game is kind of how I would probably describe what we've done for most of my career.
Yeah. I mean, would you say too, like, I mean, I know we're all from year to year, we have, different abilities and different kids. Would you say like if everything was at its peak in terms of your personnel, that's what your I would be your ideal offense would be those things?
Yeah, I mean, in the ideal, I mean, I was, I haven't, we haven't necessarily always had that tight end kind of guy. This year, we had a kid move in from Savannah Christian, and he was that guy. He was that true
Mhm.
spread tight end. He could flex, run routes. He could attach inline tight end. He could be a sniffer. So, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to be an 11P with that hybrid tight end kind of guy. You know, we've more been 10 personnel over my career, but in an ideal world, I would love to be able to be that 11 personnel every year because, you know, with that, I mean, you can line up in 2 by 2 and the next play, you know, you could be empty. The next play, you could be attached tight end. The next snap, I mean, like, and a defensive coordinator doesn't know what's coming next. So when you have that kind of guy, I think it makes what we do offensively pretty tough.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, obviously, quarterback and your offensive line, everything kind of starts there. But I agree with like the tight end. If you can have that person that also can, I mean, in an offense like that, like you're talking about, they're gonna have to be able to move around a lot too and understand, you know, how to pull kick and how to split and even probably how to get put their hand in the dirt and down block and then you know, go out for whatever routes like that. There's a lot that goes into that, and so, like you say, it's hard to find that guy, but that guy's kind of he's kind of the key to unlock that type of stuff. If you can get him, probably even more so than like say even maybe even the quarterback or than offensive line in some instances. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
definitely a game changer.
yeah, and I agree. Like it starts with the quarterback and the offensive line, but when you can find that hybrid guy, that I mean, you can just it just gives you so many options offensively to put pressure on defenses for sure.
Yeah. Um, so like off season stuff, like where we are now, like what's your biggest focus? I know everything's kind of like what we are talking about off air, like before. Everything is it's all this off season training stuff now is kind of you could do whatever you want to do, but there's only so much time, and you only have so much time with your kids. Like, so what's your biggest area of focus on your team that hey, we're going to be on the right track if we do this, this, and this in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we come back in January, usually the focus the first 6 to 8 weeks is just lifting weights. Obviously, we're going to run a little bit. Uh, we're running 2 days a week doing some of the flying 10 stuff, but the biggest thing, because it's cold outside, how much bigger and stronger can we get? And this year, to try to kind of provide some motivation and give them something to work to, we're going to take a group March 7th to the GACA weightlifting state championship meet. And I think you can take up to 30 guys. There's 10 different weight classes. And so we haven't done that before. And I just thought it might be time to give them something to work for besides just football. And
Yeah.
so we're going to take a group. So the kids are excited about that. I'm going to make it a big deal. You go down and you win. I mean, it's a state championship competition. We'll buy you a state championship ring and all that good stuff. And then, after that, we'll kind of, we'll incorporate more of the speed and agility stuff and start our 4-on-1 training. We'll start bringing the upcoming ninth graders over a couple of days a week in the afternoons to lift weights. We have 3 football coaches doing track, so most of the football guys were highly encouraged to run track to get faster. And so that's kind of, the off season, but just like everything else, besides trying to get bigger, faster, and stronger, it's time to build team culture, get them to love each other, work together, hold each other accountable, just build all the traits that it requires to be a good football team. Show commitment, showing up every day, working hard, being disciplined, being accountable. And so just holding them to the fire and trying to build that team culture of what you want, a culture of, they can count on each other. They love each other. They love to play football, love to be around the coaches and their teammates. So for me, that's really big right now, trying to develop that as much as trying to get them bigger, faster, and stronger.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier about, I mean, nobody wants to do tough things anymore, and especially a lot of times teenage kids. There's a lot more things they could be doing with their time these days, and it seems like the off season. I mean, for me, I'm not saying anything like breaking news here, but like January and February, it's like it would seem like to most people the furthest football's the furthest thing away, but, like, this is really when, like you say, the culture's built and you kinda get in there and, everybody, puts the sweat in the bucket together and, you know, kinda develops and kind of becomes a cohesive team, and so there's probably not I mean, there could be some more important times of the year in terms of a football program, but I think, January, February, kinda like you said, that's really when it's time to just get in there and work when really nobody else is paying much attention to it and understand what you're doing at that point is gonna, pay itself off down the road, obviously.
Yeah. And then something new we're going to do this off season. Coach Grace mentioned earlier came in and is our new defensive coordinator, and he wants to do football school. And so starting in end of February, 1st of March, we're going to spend a couple of days a week just in the classroom, football 101, and so, because sometimes we just take for granted that kids know what we're talking about. And so before we start really teaching fundamentals and scheme and all that, we're just going to try to teach, some basic football knowledge. And so
Mhm.
I'm going to buy all the kids notebooks, and they're going to come in, and coaches are going to kind of go through and, as simple as this is A gap, this is B gap, this is C gap, I mean, this is the flats, this is, deep third. I mean, just to make sure that, because I think our kids still like playing. I mean, they love playing football, but some of them don't watch football. And so,
Right.
like, when you talk certain specifics, and, I think it's important for the kids to understand the language we're talking. So, I always thought that was important when I coached offensive line. Like, you have to come to the sideline and be able to talk my language. Like when I ask you what they're lining up in, you got to be able to tell me they're lining up in a three technique, not, he's, outside of me. Like, no, you
Right.
got to, and so, I'm excited about having football school and trying to, educate our guys and help them understand football better before we start scheme and fundamental work and all that good stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned that just today. I was talking with my head coach and our defensive coordinator, and we were kind of talking about the idea of doing something similar, but with situations.
Yeah.
So like 2 minute, just going through like 2 minute, 4 minute offense.
Coming off.
Oh
Like
yeah, coming off
what
the goal line. Just
yeah.
yeah,
Like what's the goal? What's the purpose? Like
right.
what
In
are we
end of
trying to
half,
accomplish? Yeah.
yeah, into half, into game, onside kicks, and just talking with kids like, hey, like if it's 4 minute offense, you don't want to go out of bounds. Like we want to use every bit of the play clock. We want to make sure they're trying to get the ball. They're going to do everything they can to make us fumble the football or get it away from us. So we got to be extra careful with ball security. Just going through like the basic do's and don'ts of that stuff. So
Yeah,
um
and I agree. Like even some of the rule changes, like playing secondary, like you can't lead and try to knock a defenseless receiver out. Like you have to use your arms and try to make a form tackle. Like
yeah,
some at practice, some of the kids are doing that. And like that's a penalty, and they look at me like, why? And
right,
so like these are great times to teach that.
yeah, because you don't once you get in season, it's just one of those things like you don't have as much time to
Right,
to hit those unique or, very rare situations that come
right,
up. So,
yeah.
um, what what do you think, just talking about like challenges or adversity in your career, like what do you think has, maybe been some of the bigger challenges in your coaching career and what did you learn from those?
Yeah, I mean, being a position coach, you worry about football a lot, and then you become a head coach and you have to learn and worry about everything, and but I can say this, there's pretty much never been a football season that there's not been some kind of adversity,
Oh
like
yeah.
and so, like, that's why I love football because football, you're going to face adversity. It's going to happen. And you got two choices. You can either let it whip you or you can, you know, hit it in the mouth and keep going. And so, but as a head coach, the challenges are, and I kind of pulled it up on my phone and I just uh, I'm going to kind of read it. And it's really kind of what Kirby, said about the cost of leadership, and it was these things, and being a head football coach, I think it's so true. You will have to make hard decisions that will negatively impact the people you care about. The worst thing I have to do is set a kid down. You got two or three people competing for the quarterback job, and you love that kid, and he's done everything you asked, but there's just a kid better, and you got to say, the other kid won the job. Like, that's challenging. That's hard. It stinks. Number two, you will be disliked despite your best attempts to do what is best for most. I mean, Joe, you've been around me a long time. I like for people to like me, but I've learned in this position as a head coach, there's going to people, not everybody's going to like me.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to do what is best for the kids. I'm going to love our kids. I'm going to do everything that's right by the kids. And I can put my head on a pillow at night because I do right by our kids. I coach the kids the way they should be coached, and I love the kids. And then number three, you will be misunderstood and not always have the chance to defend yourself. That's hard. I mean, like you get, I mean, people will go to Facebook and blast you over something that you may or may not even have a chance, and that's hard and that's challenging, but it comes with a job. But yeah, I mean that being a head coach, it goes from um, not just football to, but how are we going to pay for this? I got to order this. I need to hire this coach. We got to do this schedule. We got to get this pregame meal. I got to line up the buses. We got a JV game. There's lots of challenges as a head coach, but it's very rewarding too. I mean, it's hard, it's challenging, but it's pretty awesome too. Just to as an offensive coordinator or position coach, you kind of get to impact one side of the football or maybe one position. And now in my seat, I get to impact everybody. And it's something that, I don't take for granted or lightly. But it can be challenging, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think that's something too. Like, I mean, I know coaches that listen to this will know, like, the head coaching seat is obviously its own thing when everybody from the outside looking in, everybody's like, oh, everybody, that gets into this wants to be a head coach or that's their ambition. And it's like, well, if you've been in it long enough and you've either coordinated or coached a position or whatever, and you've kind of been close to the head coach, you know everything they got to do. And it's like a lot of times, like talking about January and February, like you're waking up at 5 in the morning to go to whatever,
Yeah.
the organized meeting or workout or whatever, and for the team, and it's like, you know, uh, being a position coach right now is not so bad when you don't have to have all this stuff organized and be the one everybody's looking to for it, and that's something that everybody doesn't think about that's not in the coaching industry.
And the other thing is, ultimately I'm judged on wins and losses, but people don't always see or know everything that's going on. You're talking about challenging and adverse. So not this season. The 2024 season, without a doubt, was the hardest uh, year coaching that I've ever went through. It started out in July, and you know, um, we had to bury a kid's mama. She was 34 years old and killed in a car wreck, and I had to go into a hospital room and see a kid broken. He was hurt from the car accident, but he just found out his mama had died, and then later on, I had a senior. His dad had been battling lung cancer for 4 years and finally succumbed to his cancer, and we had to bury another one. So, we played game one against a really good team, and starting quarterback hurts his shoulder. And you just kind of have to tweak the offense, and just, it just, for the first 4 games, after the first 4 games, like I didn't even want to go into the training room because of the
Yeah.
injuries and it was just really challenging. And we had a chance to be good that year. We had 22 seniors. A lot of the kids had played 3 or 4 years, and we were close so many times. I think we lost 4 games by less than 6 points, and for those 4 games, we had the ball with under 2 minutes, and we just couldn't find a way to go score. But you're talking about hard and challenging and adverse. I mean, it was hard, and but I mean, just like what we try to teach the kids, I was really proud. The kids could have crumbled, they could have quit, they could have thrown in the towel, but they kept showing up. They were resilient. They kept working hard. They were there for their teammates in the hard times, and I was proud of how we were able to overcome all that stuff. But looking on the outside, we were 3-7, but people don't know the whole story of how we got to 3-7. So it's just hard, and sometimes people just don't understand everything that goes on behind closed doors that people don't know about.
Yeah, and that's the part you're talking about, like, you don't always have in the Kirby Smart quote, you're not always gonna have a chance to
Yeah,
defend yourself or,
yeah,
explain something, and
right.
people are just
It's
they're gonna
it's
see it
just
for what they see it
right.
as.
But instead, like the coaches don't know what they're doing, and I mean, in places like where you and I are in the White Counties and the Ravens and the Trons, I mean, when one or two or 10 kids get hurt, it's a big deal. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I mean, this past season, we go to play game one and we're without ten kids. I mean, at White County, when you got 60 kids and you're losing 10, that makes it quite challenging, you know. But and like this year, you're talking about challenging and adverse. We get a new defensive coordinator in June. We're having 9 or 10 new starters on defense. We just graduated 22 seniors. Oh, and the first 6 games we played teams that are really good. I think after the first 6 games, you know, the teams we played were like 26-2, and you know, we started 0-6. But once again, I tried to make keep it fun. You know, um, and the kids hung in there. They showed up every day. We got a little bit better each week, and we were able to win 3 of the last 4 games and create some momentum and give the kids some good memories, you know. But it could have easily been easy for the ship to sink after starting
Mhm.
0-6 and, you know, all the things that we went through. But that's why I love football, because our kids learned hard stuff and how to withstand that and how to become better people because they went through it.
Yeah, and I was it's funny you mentioned that part, like, that not probably maybe in the last couple weeks, I was talking to another coach on our staff about, like, when you have a year like that and you don't lose kids and the end of the year is as much momentum or improvement or progress, with your kids as any other time of the year, then you know that that's just a really good test of your culture and your connection of your coaches staff with your kids because if that's not there and you're 0-6 and you know everything all that stuff's going on, then that stuff's your lack of culture, your lack of foundation of connection of your coaches and your kids, that stuff's going to show really quick during those times,
Yeah,
and
no
I
doubt.
think
You know,
that's definitely the test of those things.
it was, you know, you had to find that fine line of still making it fun, but trying to get better and hold them to the standard. But, you know, there was times at practice, like I wanted to lose my mind, like practice might not be going like I wanted to, but I was like, hey, like, you know, make it fun. Keep them wanting to be here. Like, you know, just keep pushing them and getting them better without going and, you know, hooping and hollering and yelling at them every day. And so, you know, like I said, I was really proud of the kids, especially after that 6 game. You know, we could have folded our tents and, you know, they could have went home, but, you know, they kept showing up and fighting and competing and getting better. And then to be able to win, you know, 3 out of the last 4 was, I was really proud of the kids.
Yeah, that's huge to be able to end it that way.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things, I don't know, that you see, like, what are some trends or changes in high school football that you've noticed recently or in recent years or you kinda have your eye on or think, these are bigger picture things now that we have to deal with and that we might not have had to deal with, even just a few years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, just I think for me, taking care of the kids and getting the horses to the race, you know, like uh, just maybe being smarter at practice. Um, you know, especially for me, like uh, I like having tough Tuesdays, but is it worth having tough Tuesdays so much where one of my guys might get hurt? You know, I mean, and then too, like the concussions, just trying to keep them healthy. You know, being able to put them in guardian caps and stuff like that. But you know, stuff like that, I guess, is what I'd say.
Yeah. I definitely think I mean, that's something I think just from no longer than I've been in coaching for the past 12 or 13 years that has it's definitely changed in terms of, like, I mean, the season, especially in Georgia now, is so long from the time
Yeah,
we put pads on until, till the end. And whether you make the playoffs or not, and it's just one of those things you have to keep in the back of your mind being able to, like you say, get them to the just get the horses to the race and to the starting line, and I think that's something that's constantly on your mind, is because like you say, you go into a game without a handful of your, contributors, then that's not gonna be a good thing.
No, absolutely not. And, I mean, I will say this. I mean, I think over the years, we do a lot better job as a whole of getting kids bigger, faster, and stronger, and just limiting the amount of uh, just contact and getting after it. So they are fresh, especially like at a school like we are. Like I got kids that are going to have to play 120 to 150 snaps on both sides of the ball, even the linemen. And, like this year, how can I make practice good and get everything we need, but how can I make it shorter so that, you know, we aren't taking a beating and we're not getting, 200 reps in practice where they can still get to the game on Friday and have something left in the tank so that they can play 150 snaps and give us a chance to win.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think I mean, that's that's something now with all the strength and conditioning stuff kinda built in that it kinda you almost waste that stuff if you don't have a plan for practice and keeping guys healthy, so
Yeah,
I
because
think you're
even
onto something
because
there.
even like teams who can two platoon, like now, I mean, a lot of them, 90 minutes, maybe an hour and 45 minutes, and they're done. And for us, we have to practice kiss both ways, so we definitely have to stay out there 2 hours, maybe two and a half
Yeah,
hours early in the week, and it's it's trying to be smart to take care of the guys to keep them as healthy as possible, so that we have a fighting chance on Friday nights.
yeah. So we're gonna end here, like I said, this is, the very first episode of this version of our show, and I wanna end here on some rapid fire questions, so just stuff like some of it's gonna be off the cuff and maybe seem, not football related. Some of it is gonna be definitely be kinda deep in the weeds, football and coaching related. Um, I'm gonna start with something pretty simple. What name maybe I know you've talked about a couple of them already at, Flowery Branch Days. Uh, name 2 of the best players you've coached in your career.
All right, hands down. Number one, Charlie Warner, Raven County, 6'4", 240 pound player for us. When he graduated, did his stats. He had 66 touchdowns. He averaged 11.2 yards every time he touched the ball. As a free safety for us, yes, Charlie Warner, who plays tight end now for the Atlanta Falcons. He never played tight end for us. He played running back and receiver, and we gave him the ball because he was, people didn't want to tackle 6'5", 240 pounds. And then he played free safety for us, and he averaged 107 yards. 107 tackles a year. He finished his career with 428 tackles. I knew he was special. His freshman year, we went and played Commerce. Commerce is going to run the option wing tee, and that night he had 34 combined tackles between solos and assists, and some of those tackles he made, if he doesn't make them, they ended up beating us 18-17, but they beat us by 2 or 3 scores if he doesn't make that play.
Yeah.
So he is the best football player I've ever coached, and not only is he an unbelievable football player, he is an unbelievable person. Like, just showed up and went to work. Hey Charlie, how you doing? Hey coach, and that was about all you were going to get. Country
Mhm.
boy, hunting, fishing, loved it. I mean, but just an unbelievable person. And then the second best player that I had the fortune of being on a coaching staff that he played for was Connor Shaw. I was blessed with a lot of really, 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 really good quarterbacks. But Connor goes to South Carolina. I think he was undefeated at home as a quarterback in William Price. He's the winningest quarterback in South Carolina history. And then he made, NFL teams and played in a couple of games in the NFL. But he was the quarterback at Flowery Branch who took us to the state championship game and to the semifinal. Um, and he was just another really good football player. But just like Charlie, Connor was outstanding young man. A lot of fun to be around, and so those would be the two that are the two best that I've ever been around.
And on the flip side of that, maybe two that, and I know you've named a couple already from your past, two of the best players you've coached against.
Yeah. So uh, in 2008, when we were on the way to making it to the state championship game, we had to play in the third round Carver Columbus. We had to go to Carver Columbus, and they were loaded. They were getting off the bus, and two or three of them would walk down the stairs, and they were 6'5", 280, 300-pound linemen. They had a 6'6" outside linebacker that went to Clemson. Oh, and they had Isaiah Crowell. And Isaiah didn't even warm up for the game. Like, he sat on the bench in his jersey, didn't participate, and they come out, and I'll never forget it. We had them backed up on the 1-yard line. They come out in too tight wishbone and run tall sweep, and he takes it 99 yards. We ended up beating them, obviously, and they had to score a touchdown. We were up. They had to score a touchdown to win the game. Under 2-minute drill, they didn't throw it not one time until the last play. They gave it to Isaiah, and it was all we could do to tackle him. Even though we knew he was getting the ball, he was just super, super talented. So he would be one of them. And then, let's see. We played some really good football teams when I was at Flowery Branch. Probably, that Gainesville team in 2009 had some guys like Blake Sims and the A.J. Johnsons and the T.J. Jones that went to Notre Dame and the Thomas Niles. Probably just that combination right there was, it was pretty talented.
Yeah. Let's see. Moving on. Do you have any game day traditions or superstitions, things you got to do on game day?
Uh, I'm not too superstitious. I worked with some coaches who had to wear the same socks, underwear, all that kind of stuff. I'm a routine guy, but not necessarily a superstitious guy. Things that I just have to have. But as a head coach, I do like routine. At 3:07, we're going to be in the locker room. At 3:25, we're going to go to pregame. All that kind of stuff. I am, more detail oriented that way, but not so much like superstitions.
I got you. Favorite drill for practice could be
Favorite
anything.
favorite drill. I love probably routes on air. Just throwing the football, doing what we do. But I also like just old school as an offensive line coach. I love one-on-one board drills. I like some Oklahoma. Back when I used to coach receivers, I'd take them down on the far corner when we go to camp and set up a 5x5 square box, and we'd do 6-second fight. And basically, for 6 seconds, you're getting after it. No punching or kicking, but like we're getting after it. So those were some good things that I enjoy in football practice for sure.
I threw this one in here just for you. Ford or Chevy?
Oh, definitely. All day Ford, all day. That Ford F-150.
Do you still have two?
I do. I have 1.0 and 2.0. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And then it only took me about 20 years to convince my wife. Comes from a Chevy family, and it only took me for about 20 years, and I finally got her. She got her Ford SUV, and she's like, "It's my favorite favorite vehicle ever. I said, I mean, it only took me 20 years to get you to get one,
There you go.
but
Well,
I'm a Ford guy for sure.
yeah, I'm definitely not, but I
I
threw
know
that
you're
one in
not.
there
I
for
know you're a
you.
Chevy guy.
So you probably already gave this one away. Favorite position to coach?
Oh well, I mean, if I was not a head coach, or an offensive coordinator, it's offensive line all day. You know, that's what I played. It's just awesome. I love coaching the big boys, because they don't. I mean, you can go coach them hard and love them hard, and you know they respond, and it's fun. But being an offense coordinator, I enjoy coaching quarterbacks too. I think that relationship, play caller and quarterback, is really important, and so I enjoy doing that as well.
Best football movie?
You know, I'm not a huge movie guy. I mean, but I mean, I like some Remember the Titans, probably movie. But I liked Friday Night Lights, the series. You know,
Oh yeah.
I probably wasn't, Texas Forever. So those probably the two that I like the best.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate over the Friday Night Lights, the movie or the show being better. I liked them both, but I really liked the show too. I
Me
thought
too.
it was.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of last second Hail Mary like games, probably more than realistic, but
yeah, yeah,
I still liked it. I thought it kind of got what it was going for.
yeah.
Um, all right. So as a head coach on game day, are you more on the warpath or are you more laid back?
Yeah. So until 3 o'clock, I'm pretty laid back, and um, but at 3 o'clock, I'm gonna flip the switch and get my game face on, um, and if and when I need to be that person, I can be, to get their attention and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for me, until 3 o'clock, I'm smiling, shaking hands, talking to the people in school. But then, at 3 o'clock, like it's go time. I'm gonna flip the switch, turn my hat backwards, whatever, over the top,
Yeah.
and get ready to go and try to win a football game.
And I'll probably ask that question more from an assistant coaching perspective, just because it's always funny among assistant coaches when you kind of get a feel for the head coach on game day and like, is it is everybody has their responsibilities and things they need to do, obviously, and nobody's trying to skirt around doing that. But like, it's always it's always kind of a fun exercise to see different head coaches you work for, and some being more, you know, like laid back and relaxed as can be on game day, and some are, the complete opposite of that, you know, looking for somebody to jump almost. And that's just one of those things, I guess, about being an assistant working for somebody. But
Yeah.
um, what's the best environment you've ever coached in?
Probably, the Flowery Branch days. I mean, the Friday night environment at Flowery Branch was awesome. Like I said, I thought Coach Shaw did a great job. Like I remember coaches saying, like, when you turned on Thunderstruck and you came out ready to go, and then they started playing the air raid sirens, like some of them were like, oh my gosh, because usually when that song came on and the siren started blaring, like we were about to go to work and uh, try to. I mean, we were pretty good, so we were gonna go try to put it on you. Um, but the Gainesville Flowery Branch was always a really good environment. The Flowery Branch North Hall games were always really fun. Those were always really, really, really good football games. And then obviously, the playoff games were always really, really cool and really special, especially that first one. The first playoff game, I think, in school history, our principal let us take the day off. We took the kids back. We used to take the kids to camp in Stevens County, and we would run Currahee Mountain, which is where the Band of Brothers trained. And Currahee Mountain stood for, I stand alone. And that was kind of our battle cry and what we were at Flowery Branch, and we did it every year to end camp. Um, and so that year we took them and we actually spent the night at the where we had camp, and we got them up the next day, and we walked up the mountain and just kind of went back to where it all started for the season. And then we got on the bus and came back and rolled in after school and did our normal pregame stuff. And then I'm pretty sure we played Central Carroll that first time. And that was a pretty cool memory and experience that we did. I thought it was pretty
That
neat
is
how we
pretty
did
cool.
that.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
yeah,
That's pretty neat.
yeah. It was pretty cool.
Um, are you a new huddle or the classic huddle person?
Classic, all day classic. What about you?
I,
What are you?
I'm definitely classic, and I've heard people say that it's an offensive coaching thing. I don't know if you've noticed that, but our defensive coaches on our staff are straight up like what y'all are crazy. Like it's like offensive. It's an offensive coaching thing. Like y'all don't know
Yeah,
how good the new huddle is, but I'm like I've never really even never really fooled with it. So
yeah. I don't. I mean, obviously some down the distance and stuff, but I can see the analytics, way more important, or where the defensive guys would really want that and need that and all that. But for me, like where you're gonna line up and maybe when you're gonna blitz, but
yeah,
other than that, like I just want to watch film.
yeah, I'm the same way. And if it's not broke, I don't have
Right,
to
correct.
fix it. You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
that's kind
Yeah.
of why I'm on the old huddle. Another one I put in here for you. What favorite food condiment?
Oh, you know it. uh, Absolutely got to have ketchup. We got two rules at my house, and one of them is we can't run out of ketchup. So I can eat ketchup on just about anything.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of ketchup too. That's one thing. And having 3 kids in the house, that's one thing. It's probably a rule at our house too. Is one thing we don't ever need to run out of is ketchup. And so, I'm there with you on that
I
one.
hear
Maybe
you.
not as hardcore, but I'm a fan of ketchup too. Um, Beach or mountains?
Mountains all day. I'm married to a beach girl, but for me, mountains all day. Give me a good stream and let me go trout fishing, and I could stay there for a long, long time. Every once in a while the beach is good, but I'm much more of a mountains and a river kind of guy.
Yeah, a little bit more. That's as I think as I get older, that's a little bit more my speed too. Uh,
Yeah,
just I mean, I don't mind the beach, but I could definitely spend more time probably uh in the mountains. So,
yeah,
well, Coach, I appreciate you joining me tonight and spending some time and like I said, being the very first to be on here and kind of go through all this and talk some ball and talk industry stuff and your career and what's going on at White County and I know that you guys are you know building for some bigger things there, and you've talked about the commitment y'all have and that kind of thing there, and I know there's I know there's some big things in the future for y'all.
yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on. I love any time I got a chance to talk about White County, especially talk about the kids that I've been blessed to coach. It's not about me. It will never be about me. I mean, I think the good Lord put me on this earth to coach football and to build men, but just I've been, like I said earlier, been really blessed and fortunate to be at some really great places and coach some really great kids and build some really good relationships. And yeah, so appreciate you having me on and let me talk about my experience for sure.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you being on, and everybody else still listening out there. Make sure you're all subscribed to our channel and go follow us anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube and all that good stuff. And we'll see y'all later.